What's going on, good people? My good people, we back again. Rose Gold Dreams, the Daddy Daughter Podcast, and today we're gonna be talking about heart attacks. So stay tuned with us. I don't mean like heart attack. I mean like attacks of the heart. So stay with us, check it out, and we'll see what we got at the end. Always like, subscribe, comment. We want to hear what you got to say. You want to hear what we got to say, hopefully. So I'll see you soon, or I'll hear from you soon, I should say. All right, y'all. So we're gonna talk about some heart attacks. Really, I mean attacks of the heart, some heart preparation, some caretaking of the heart, if you may, however you want to call it. Mainly emotional intelligence. Let's say that. So if I was to break down the word emotional intelligence, it just has something to do with managing your emotions, but at the same time understanding the emotions of other people, the people around you. So that's what we're going to talk about. But I do want to do this, a couple disclaimers. Uh, I'm not a licensed therapist or professional by any means. I'm a professional at what I do. So if you got some real stuff going on, you might want to, contact the proper people, therapists or whatever. And also, I want to tell you that I'm going to come from the parents' point of view, and it's extremely important that us as parents have a high level of emotional regulation and emotional intelligence, not only for ourselves, but because we have children and we have different children, like if you have more than one child or teen or however it is, they're different individual people. So that means that they should be handled and dealt with differently to a certain extent. So you can't go with the same approach emotionally with every kid. So us as parents, we need to really be on it. So I'm going to kind of dumb this down as much as possible too, because this is actually like a really big topic. So I'm gonna just kind of dumb it down. So if you look at emotional regulation or emotional intelligence overall, it's gonna be I'm breaking it down into like five categories. That's self awareness, self regulation, self respect, self motivation, and relationship management. So those are my categories that I created that I felt like would be a good meat of stuff for us to kind of dive into or whatever. So when I say self awareness, I'm talking about being aware of your own personality and your own consciousness. So you should be aware of your moral codes and your belief system as a person. That's a topic in itself because these things we have learned throughout our lifespan. So every year or 2 years or 3 years, or every minute or whatever, we develop these belief system and moral systems, and we have to be aware of what they are when we're if we want to know ourselves, if we want to have proper emotional intelligence. Also, self-regulation. And self-regulations is pretty much the ability to manage your behaviors in situations. So when things happen with your feelings, that self-regulation is being able to manage your behaviors after you had those feelings. Self-respect is something that's thrown out a lot, but a lot of people get it mixed up. Self-respect doesn't mean that you get to disrespect everybody else to make yourself feel better. That's not self-respect, but that's almost how it's taken nowadays. To me, self-respect is having a strong level of pride and dignity for yourself, um, and just an honor that you have for yourself. And then also self-motivation kind of goes with that, but self-motivation is also having not only pride for yourself, but also having that like internal drive to be able to do things that you need to do. So there are things that can motivate you, but you should also have an internal motivation system so that when you don't have people like to help or reach out to you, or you don't have videos to watch and motivate you, then you have that internal motivation that you can still get stuff done. And then the last one is the relationship management, and that's just the ability to properly prioritize relationships, which I'm probably not going to get into at all because we did a whole podcast on relationships. So you just have to watch that that one and see. So with those things in mind, thinking about the self awareness, the self regulation, the self respect, the self motivation, and relationship management, um, we also have to have an understanding of our body systems and how our body works and how our the mechanics of our internal being or whatever, how that works. Because once you understand that, then you can well, I'm not going to be using a whole bunch of words because there's a whole bunch of stuff in here already. But you can adequately kind of like assign things how they need to be and get just an overall picture of how your body is going to go through things when you encounter situations. So our body has three parts, I would say, or three states of mind. Um, so one of them I'm using is from DBT. DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy. And that's something that's being pushed a lot right now. So I chose to use that. But you have your wise mind, your reasonable mind, and your emotional mind. Those are the three states of mind in that. So emotional mind is, of course, emotionally led. That means you're led by all feelings. Some happen, you respond. If somebody make you mad, you go respond in anger. So it's just emotionally led thoughts that lead to feelings that lead to behaviors. Reasonable mind is very practical and logical. So that means it's all fact based, logical evidence, and that's how you move and respond. Nothing else. You don't care nothing about feelings. And the in between and the goal is wise mind. It's always to operate in your wise mind. And your wise mind is always the holistic approach, is goal oriented, and it's looking at the bigger picture led thinking. So in your wise mind, you take from your emotional mind and you take from your reasonable mind, and then you put those together in order to reach whatever goal or whatever mission that you have. So the goal for those states of mind is to always operate in your wise mind, and when you're not in your wise mind is how to get to your wise mind. That's the goal. So the other set is for my brothers and sisters in Christ. There are also three states of mind or three kind of systems, and it's spirit, soul, and body. So those things are the biblical approach, and I kind of do both because they kind of mirror each other and they both valuable. So for those Christ-like individuals, of course, the body is the flesh. That's fleshly led, that's carnality, that's the more sinful, selfish approach of thinking. So it kind of mirrors emotional mind. It's kind of doing what you want to do based on your emotions. The soul is the mental. So it kind of mirrors that logical, reasonable mindset and way of thinking. But on the spiritual side, you have your spirit, which is the Holy Spirit that is being led by the Spirit in combination with the Bible and God's Word. So it's not your own reasoning, it is based on, your studying of the Word and prayer and using your spirit man to guide you. So those are the three states of mind for, just like those spiritual people, and the three states of mind for, just in general. But both systems have the same goal, which is to get to your wise mind or to get to that spirit led mindset. So, all of these things in the emotional intelligence is to get to how can I address situations in the wisest way possible. So, overall, that's what I consider emotional intelligence. And when you're looking at these different things, we'll kind of talk about, what you could do when those situations arise. But for the most part, this information you have to look at and study and learn for yourself. Because again, I could have did a whole thing on each one of these, but you have to have self-awareness, self-regulation, self-respect, self-motivation, relationship management. And you have to look at those body systems so you will know how to move, groove, so you'll know how your body responds and stuff that just make more sense to you. So that's from like the parent adult point of view. And then Angel is going to tell you about kind of the same things, but from a teenager, child, whatever, how you want to name it, point of view.
So, hey y'all, I'm gonna be talking about the teen's point of view on heart attacks and preparing our hearts at our younger age. I first want to establish that everybody has feelings, and even more nowadays, people are more aware of their feelings. And while that is a good thing, that people are acknowledging their feelings and getting into with their emotions, that means people are also more aware of others' emotions and how they can use those to manipulate them. They can use loyalties, they can use sympathy, and they can use all kind of like peer pressure. And people, a lot of people think they don't do that, but I even like they might do it unintentionally. Like puppy eyes, that's kind of like it's not like it's kind of a manipulation because you're using your emotions to get sympathy from someone else to get something you want, which is not always a bad thing, but it's something that you should be aware that you're doing. Kids, even when they're babies, they throw tantrums. They throw in a tantrum to get something they want. They want you to feel sympathy for them. So in exchange, that you give them what they originally want. And back to what I was saying about peer pressure, um, your friends might like say some stuff that like give you people call it FOMO, fear of missing out. Like that's an emotion. When you don't want to like you really don't want to go, but you don't want to be left out, and they be like, "Well, we gonna do this." And be like, "Well, that do sound fun," and then in the end you be like, "Yeah, I might just go." And back to my dad, was he was talking about emotional intelligence. It's like the ability to identify emotions in self and others. He said that before. That's what like teenagers too. That we need to be able to identify our own emotions and acknowledge that others have emotions too, and we can't apply our same emotions to them all the time. So our emotions, while we have them and they have them, we might be feeling different things in the same situation. So you need to be self-aware, being able to develop your own self-awareness and be acknowledging of how you feel. That can be your emotional intelligence can improve by becoming more self-aware. And we also want to be aware of developing something called metacognition. And this is a word that's come up for me a lot of times actually recently, which I don't know why, but it has. I first heard it in my psychology class back at the beginning of the semester. But metacognition is basically thinking about your own thinking. So you may be saying, "What? Thinking about thinking? That don't even make no sense." But just think about it like this: you have to metacognition is analyzing your own thought patterns, the what you're doing, what you're thinking about, and why. So metacognition, like when you think about it all together, it's like knowing what you're doing and analyzing why you're doing it. So developing that can really help you be emotionally intelligent because if you know why you're feeling it and what you're feeling, well, flip that around, what you're feeling and why you're feeling it. But that can help you move forward because then you know, okay, this is what I was feeling. This is why. Next time, this is what I can do to help me feel better before it even happened. Um, Also, this is something I struggle with just a little bit. Well, not a little bit. I struggle with this a lot actually. Letting my emotions stack up. So I want to be aware of like little. I let little stuff bother me, and I'll be like, nah, I don't even worry about it. And then something else little bother me. Then something else. Then something else, and then eventually I just get so upset. It's like just forget it. It's over. This day has been horrible. But really, when I think about it, it was like three things that bothered me. But there was just so many things. It's like that's too much. There's too much going on. So stuff like that, you want to be aware of. Just making sure that you know like little things are bothering you, so you can be aware of making sure you're not exploding on people who didn't even do nothing. Um, Also, everyone has a need to feel and express feelings. That's important, but also be aware of who you express them to. You make sure you understand who you invite into your emotional business. So talking about you, and you don't want that. Um, and also, especially emotions in girls versus boys. People say like they nowadays it's starting to get a bit better. People don't want people to like fall into those stereotypical boxes. But at the end of the day, people might not think it, but emotional biases are very much prevalent today, just as they were a long time ago. People just gotten better at hiding them than they used to be. So, especially for like us girls, we have a lot of emotional stereotypes like we're not allowed to be angry or competitive or ambitious. Because all those things are no, don't do that. They want you to like be nice and kind and smart and do whatever they want you to. But make sure that you're not doing everything that you want you to do because you also have to be important. So, and guys too, they have that kind of box too. People don't want them to be weak or dependent or emotional. They want them to be strong and independent and powerful. And people might say, "Well, we want you to show emotions and stuff too." But when they show those emotions, now you don't like them no more. Well, then don't say that in the first place. Don't say that because people are allowed to have emotions, and guys and girls should be able to express their emotions equally. That's how a relationship works together by expressing your emotions. Um, and another big importance of like regulating your emotions is that emotional stress and like other stresses can have real effects on the body. There are especially things like conversion disorder. Conversion disorder is a really common mental disorder where your emotions start having physical effects on your body. So it's where you have your emotions start to reflect the physical effects. So you could be feeling like a big move and you're really stressed about it. You might start losing your hearing. You can go blind. All that kind of stuff that stresses on you, it can take away things that you have in your physical body, and that's stuff you should be aware of. So that's my segment on teenagers' emotional intelligence. Now, me and my dad are going to go over our what should we do and what do we need to do to make ourselves better at emotional intelligence. So be there or be square.
So now, y'all, we're gonna talk about, kind of like, what do I do now? What make this make sense if I'm dealing with some of this stuff? How do I, handle it right now? Because we already talked about emotional intelligence from the teen's point of view and a parent's point of view. But if you haven't developed skills and you in these crisis modes, what do you do? So first, we're gonna break down the crisis or the modes, I would say. In those high intense situations. So we do, red, yellow, green. Red meaning crisis, yellow meaning like something is going on, but it's not extremely important right now, and green meaning like you smooth, ain't nothing really going on. We also say 1, 2, and 10. I just people be going from 0 to 10. So 1, 2, and 10. 1 being green, 2 being yellow, 10 being red. So with that, we kind of go back and forth about what you should do when you find yourself in these categories, starting with red, 10, crisis mode. So what we got?
Okay, so I have don't try to talk it out while you're still upset because both like parties they should work it out with themselves first. And I say this because I know that when I'm upset, I just say stuff. So when you're upset, it's hard to like even comprehend what the other person is thinking because you're so upset. Like there's nothing I wouldn't say there's nothing. There's not a lot you can say if you haven't calmed down, thought about the situation, and are ready to talk it out with somebody else. And then I have be the bigger person, but also know when you're not at fault. Like you want to be able to um, be aware of like the situation, like knowing where you're at fault, but like being the bigger person. But also, when someone did you dirty, it's not your responsibility to go to them first if they're the ones who hurt you. That's not. It's not your
I don't agree with
responsibility.
that, but yeah, I got
Why
it.
not?
Because if we're talking about regulating our own emotions, which, well, we'll talk about that when we get to the green, we can't depend on other people to come help us regulate our own emotions. So when we in crisis mode, especially when we on red, we can't be mad like, "Who I'm mad. They better hurry up and come say sorry." Like, what if they don't come say sorry?
Well, you gotta just let it go. Then.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That's what we talking about, things to deal with in crisis. So in crisis mode, I agree everything you said, except for you can't wait for them to come and apologize. You still have to regulate your own emotions.
And then I had and a problem in that situation would probably make you the most upset because those people are closest to you.
Right.
And then I have don't build a bubble. Basically, it's like don't build a bubble around your emotional capacity where like you're just sitting there waiting for like something to happen, and then when somebody bursts your bubble, you just explode.
Right.
And then another thing is like you have to be able to remind other people of like what's going on with you. Like don't just sit there and you upset. Like just wait and then just wait and then just wait because they're not gonna remember.
Right. So like so overall, when you're in crisis mode, when something happens and you immediately are feeling some high intense emotions, first off, the first thing you have to do is just stop. Like we say, stop and think. So you have to stop, but you have to literally like stop yourself from talking because like you just said, when you get upset, you say anything. So you have to like literally stop yourself from talking. So do things like bite your lip because these are things you can do and people don't necessarily know what you're doing them for. So you give yourself a moment to think about what's going on. So like, like that, or bite your cheek, bite your tongue. You can take deep breaths, but sometimes deep breaths get intimidating to the person. If the situation is like a person to person thing,
Mm-hmm.
then you might not be able to take a deep breath in that situation. But you want to break eye contact from the situation and you want to break your train of thought. So sometimes, looking away or I don't care if you're looking at the clouds, but stop yourself. And then, once you stop yourself, you want to, kind of, feel yourself, check your temperature. You may need to do some pace breathing. Again, maybe you can do deep breaths. All those things are going to help prevent you from talking and just give you a moment. You just need a few seconds to allow yourself to calm down. Um, but yeah, because you're going to have some physical warning signs. So you need to know your physical warning signs. Like my physical warning sign is like my chest don't hurt, but it's like a heavy beat. Like, my chest will be beating heavy. And sometimes if I'm really nervous, if my high intense emotion is really nervous, then my ears will get red. Like my ears will get warm. So I know those warning signs. So even if I think something is not making me mad, or even if I think I'm not nervous and my ears are really warm, I'm like, oh, I'm nervous. What I'm nervous for? And so it just allows me a chance to correct myself. So knowing your physical warning signs. And then also what we're gonna talk about when we get to green, but also knowing what your goals are when you encounter situations. What is your goal out of this situation? If for my Christ led people, it's the WWJD. What would Jesus do? So know those things so that when you are trying to calm down, then you think about this is why I'm calming down. Like I don't want to hurt nobody. I want to be a loving person or whatever. So when you calming down, when you're thinking about things like that, when you break your train of thought from whoever made you mad, then you don't have those things. Have a thought buster. A thought buster is a short word or phrase that we say to ourselves to break our train of thought.
Right.
So, you know, it could be like, I gotta make it home. You get pulled over by the police. I gotta make it home. If it's a parent child thing and your teenager, your kid make you really mad, is I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to get,
Wow.
I don't want to put my hands on them. So those thought busters help you break your train of thought because parents really do be wanting to knock y'all upside your head for real. You think it's a game. We be wanting to crack y'all real bad. But it's like, I don't want to go to jail. If I hit him on the head, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. I'm gonna have to take him to the hospital. And then I'm gonna have to explain a bunch of stuff. But no, so when you're in those crisis mode, really when you're in red, the most important thing to do is stop yourself from responding, stop yourself from talking, because you want to progress down through the levels, which leads to yellow. We kind of
Hmm.
moving backwards, which leads to yellow. So what do you have for yellow?
For yellow, I have managing negative feelings, keeping track of how your mood shifts, because especially with that, like you were saying, from going from 0 to 10, emotions, especially in teenagers, shift so quick. You have to pay attention to when that happens.
Yeah.
And you want to promote mindfulness activities like calming breaths, listening to music, finding like different outlets to distract you, like doing sports.
The type of music you listen to is very important.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to necessarily listen to music that supports your feelings unless that allows you to process through the feelings. Some people can be sad and listen to sad music, and then it gets them through their feelings, and then they straight. Some people can listen to sad music, and then it make them feel worse. So know your know yourself, know what you can do and what you can't do.
Yeah. Oh, and then other distractions like reading, watching TV, drawing could be a good distraction
Yeah.
because it forces you to pay attention to something else. Like when you watching TV, it's hard to think about why you mad at somebody or something like that. And also the a scene from this movie that we watched, Turner Red. I know you don't like this movie
No,
like
I don't
that,
like it at all.
but I like the movie.
I don't
But
like
like
it.
in the movie, it's like a scene where like they test her on like managing her emotions because she turned into a panda when she get upset. So they just tell her random stuff and they throw a box of kittens at her. They be like boom. They like boom. Are you gonna get happy about these kittens? And she don't even change her mind. I was like, that's pretty good. Because if I saw a box of kittens, I'd be like, oh my goodness.
Right. What am I even mad about? What happened? The world is in need, but it's a box of kittens here.
But it's important to like find things to help shift your focus.
Right. So, in therapy terms, they call that the distract or distraxio. You want to have things that distract you from your problem for a period of time, because yellow is like, man, something happened. Is I'm not on 10, but if I keep on thinking about it, I will get there. So you need some things to distract you. So all those things are, very important to have. You also want to have you want to have like help. You want to have like you could say improve or help improve. You want to have things you can do to help improve whatever situation. Because I don't know if I said it before, but all of our feelings, we kind of really want to be happy. So that's our goal feeling in every person. So when you experience certain things, your body is really like, hey, how can we get back to happy? So you want to have those things to distract you and to get you to calm down and help you get to a better place. So then you can think about a solution or
You
whatever.
remind me of a different movie. Dang.
So when I say the help improve, it's always great to have a good person to call, a good friend who you can tell what happened and they won't support negative thoughts and feelings, but they'll be there to listen. People think it's, and this is hard. Like, people use food as self-soothing,
Mhm.
but food actually helps calm you. But you shouldn't be like,
Stressy.
yeah,
Well,
you shouldn't be like stressed
I
eating.
like eating a bag of chips when I'm sad.
But food does help calm you. Candles and nice scents. You should have some scents that you like. I don't know, peppermint, whatever, that help calm you. Um, people not bears and blankets because they say it's like for kids. But if you have, like a stuffed animal from a loved one or whatever, those things can be common.
Like tiger.
Loved ones themselves, when you have some person, to hold your hand or something like that, or to give you a hug, those also help. And then you also want to look at pros and cons of that in that yellow thing. So all that is yellow, and then we go to green, and I'm gonna start with green because
Mhm.
green is like you good, you in a good place. But this is probably the most important one out of red, yellow, green. Green is the most important because green is when you can get all of your preparation done. Green is before crisis. You can do
Mhm.
all your practicing in green. Like
Right.
anything you need to try to figure out or whatever, you don't try to figure out how to solve problems in crisis mode. Like no, you identify, like there's hundreds of problem solving techniques, schemes, diagrams on the World Wide Web. You find one to fit you and allow it to help you problem solve. Build your own problem solving system. Also, you have to learn the term radical acceptance. Acceptance is a very good term for everybody that they need to learn it, because radical acceptance is understanding that some things you just can't do anything about. Some things are what they are, and no matter what you do, you're not going to change them. Some things you can't change right now. So maybe you can change it later on down the line. I know we was talking before, like if you get a bad grade on an assignment
Mhm.
and it brings your whole grade down. Radical acceptance is understanding like, dang, I got a bad grade on it. I can't change that right now, but I can, work harder and bring it back up. Because if you don't understand these things, it'll drive you crazy. Radical acceptance is also understanding that your feelings may not matter. So you may be real passionate or real angry or high intense feelings for something, and they don't mean anything. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with understanding that your feelings don't dictate the world around you. And the last thing about radical acceptance too, well, there's more in it, but also understanding that you may be wrong in the situation. You may be the one causing the issue in the situation. So that's radical acceptance. And then, along with this, we good, this practice time, the things that you should be practicing are, understanding and knowing what your triggers are. Uh, some people don't like when people talk about their mama. Well, okay, know that's a trigger so you can have a plan for when somebody say your mama, because somebody's probably going to say it.
Yeah, we did that at college prep. We like they had us like make a list of like our stuff that bothers us, and it was like add to it. At first I was like, add to it. I'm not gonna do this. Come on now. This is a class assignment. After this, it's over. Then I found myself, I was like, I'm gonna actually keep on going. And like now I got like 20 different things on there that I'd be like, just in case, like when people walk slow in front of me. Like I'm being for real. Like when somebody walking at a different speed than me, like it's weird when somebody's walking super slow and you trying to get somewhere. Even when I'm not trying to get somewhere, somebody walking slow, I'll be like, well, I could definitely walk faster than this. Even when you in the car, I can definitely drive faster than this now. Because like the speed
Yeah.
limit is 30 and you driving 25.
Yeah. Another one is while you in the green, this is when you should be building those calming techniques and activities. So I don't think I said this, but while you in yellow, there are things you can do that can calm you, like sports, like playing basketball, playing video games, board games, all those things that are activities that calm you. That's yellow. But in green, you should identify and know what those are. So when you get to yellow, you can do them. You don't want to try to figure stuff out when you're in crisis mode. Also on green, you need to figure out who you are and who you want to be. So again, going back to the spiritual side, when we're talking about being a Christian, you already kind of have a moral system and a moral code available to you.
Hmm.
But if you choose not to use that, I don't know why you would choose that. But if you choose not to, you have to have your own moral system and moral code that's almost immovable no matter what happens with the world. You have to have something that's immovable so you can always go back to that when
Hmm.
somebody want to, knock you off track or something happens that you want to get you off character. So what is your goal character? Like, who do you want to be? How do you want to respond? How do you want people to view you? You should have that in green. You should develop that.
Right.
And then also in green, you want to know these important relationships. So I said you should have somebody to call or whatever. If you're in crisis mode and you don't have nobody to call, like genuinely, if you're in crisis mode and you don't have nobody to call, that's not the time to figure out who to call. Like that's another problem. You probably get upset about that. Like, well, I want to call somebody. I ain't got nobody to call. So so that's just a bad thing to try to figure out in crisis mode. So you want to do it in green.
Mm-hmm.
And then controversial thing, and then I'm gonna let you say your green stuff. Controversial thing that I have in green is a lot of people believe in burning bridges. I disagree with burning bridges. I agree with closing bridges for maintenance, and when these things are checked off, it can be open again. But I don't like to burn bridges. But that's the thing you need to know in green, those relationships. So yeah, that should better be taken out. All right. Yeah, so that's the things, the burning bridges things. I just something I don't agree with, but yeah.
Okay, so for mine, I have understand yourself because this is your time to like build up everything that makes up you. I know like people sometimes um they like well people always changing and they always moving like they are but they're not. Like people say like I almost don't agree with saying people change because like they change but also like once you have like a certain at a certain age, like when you're set in stone, like certain things about you
Yeah.
are already built into your moral code, your belief system, how you act, you behave.
Yeah.
If at a child level you learn that your emotions are just whatever you want to feel, and that's how it is, that as an adult you'll still be abided by that rule until someone else knocks you down and to
Yeah.
figure something else out.
We more so grow and modify,
Yeah.
but we don't change. After a certain age, I don't know what the age is, but at least by the time you a teen, 13, 14, it's a wrap. Your core character has already been built. And the only thing that'll change it or modify it is a life changing event.
Hmm.
But other than that, like you said, we just grow and we modify things to fit us better.
Yeah, and it's a big debate in our in like the psychology terms. We were always talking about that. We had a whole segment on development. We were talking about how like people have different mindsets at different ages. So the mindset of a teenager will never be the same as the mindset of an adult unless it's extenuating circumstances because a teenager is thinking about different things. Most teens are focused on the now because their emotions are what's present around them.
Hmm.
They might be thinking about the future as a possibility, but their emotions are on the present.
Right.
And for the parents looking at their teens, it's different because they're thinking about their child's future, not their present, because
Yeah.
their present is already being taken care of by the parent.
Yep.
Um, so also building your mastery of what you have to do, like making sure you have your everything in check and that you can focus on what you actually need to do. Because when you're in green, like you were saying before, like that's when it's time to do everything, to prepare, to focus. Because once you get to red, like you can't prepare and focus because you're in red. It's like it's an emergency.
And I think people like they sleep on building mastery. Like people are always trying to perfect things that they're good at, but you leave things hanging that you're not good at. Building mastery is like, okay, the things that I'm not good at, I'm gonna develop those things. Then that makes my whole person better. It elevates me altogether as a person. It ain't nothing wrong with sharpening the things that you're good at, but you should also be working on the things that you're not good at. And people like sleep on that.
Yep. And then it's like also different skills for dealing with your parents. So like for teenagers, our goals for dealing with our parents are should be focused on what we do want. Like not don't focus on what you don't want because it's harder to my dad said like whenever you say I don't want this, it sounds disrespectful or something like that. He was like and I was like, well, isn't it easier to say what you don't want than what you want? but you also should focus on what you want because it sounds more respectful, guys.
I'm telling you, teenagers, when you're trying to get something from your parents, refrain from saying things that you don't want or things that you don't like. And then also, don't you have to come to your parents very gentle and positive, and you have to know what state of mind that they're in. Like we already said, know what state of mind that you're in yourself, know your emotions, but know your parents' emotions. Mom and dad are different, so know them, come at them um, differently. I think you was gonna say that, but you
Yeah,
can close this out though.
it's okay, Dad. I'll just close us out. So I hope you guys really got to just preparing your heart and preparing for heart attacks, not the ones that's physical, but the emotional heart attacks, because it's a lot. I don't know if it's easier to prepare for a physical heart attack, but the heart attack emotionally is also important. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. If you don't prepare for your emotional heart attack will make you have a physical heart attack.
That is actually
But
true.
yeah.
Convert.
So that's it. That's Rose Gold Dreams. Again, like, subscribe, all that other stuff. Comment so I can hear what you got to say. Share all that good stuff.
Mhm.